Topps Chrome Football is back. And that matters for a reason that goes beyond release calendars, box odds, or the usual launch day hype. Because Topps Chrome was never just another football card product. It was one of the brands that helped teach collectors what a premium modern card was supposed to look like, feel like, and represent. If you are newer to football cards, it can be easy to see Chrome as just another shiny format, but that misses the bigger story. Chrome was part of a real shift in the hobby. It helped move football cards from a world where paper was standard and premium meant something narrower, into a world where finish, surface, color, and scarcity became central to how collectors understood importance. So before we judge the new release, before we rank the checklist, before we debate which rookies matter and which parallels will hold, it is worth slowing down and asking a more important question. Why did Topps Chrome Football matter in the first place? And why, after all this time, does the brand still carry real weight? That is what this video is about. Topps Chrome Football debuted in 1996, and from the start, the concept was powerful because it was familiar and the new at the same time. The cards still looked recognizably Topps. They still lived inside the grammar of mainstream sports card collecting, but they were printed on chromium stock, not traditional paper, which gave them a more reflective, metallic, premium look and a firmer, more durable feel in hand. That difference was not cosmetic alone. It changed the emotional experience of the card. That matters because collectors do not only collect statistics, names, or years. They collect presentation. They collect aura. They collect the feeling that one object sits above another in the hierarchy of the hobby, and Chrome understood that. A standard paper card can be important. Some of the most important football cards ever made are paper cards, but Chrome offered a different proposition. It told the collector, this is not just the same card on a different sheet, this is an elevated version of the card idea itself. That was a very modern instinct, and once collectors experience that kind of elevation, it tends to stay with them. To understand why Chrome mattered, you have to place it in the hobby context of the 1990s. The sports card market was already learning how to segment itself more aggressively. Collectors were becoming more aware of tiers. Not every set had the same emotional weight. Not every card occupied the same shelf in the mind. The industry was moving towards stronger distinctions between ordinary product and aspirational product. Chrome arrived right inside that evolution. What made it special was that it was not trying to be completely alien. It was not premium by becoming unrecognizable. It was premium by taking a familiar visual language and upgrading the material experience. That is a huge difference. Some products feel exclusive because they are distant. Chrome felt premium while still feeling central. That balance is one of the biggest reasons it worked. Topps has described Chrome as the premium chromium counterpart to flagship style card design. And that idea is really at the heart of the brand. It took the recognizable structure of a major Topps release and translated it into a brighter, sharper, more modern object. For football collectors, that meant something important. A rookie in Chrome did not just look like a rookie card. It looked like a rookie card that had been given a higher place in the visual order of the hobby, and collectors noticed that immediately, even when they do not say it out loud. One of the reasons Chrome mattered so much is that it helped turn visual surface into a bigger part of the chase. That is where refractors come in. Refractors become one of the most recognizable parts of the Chrome identity. Topps' own description of Chrome history centers refractors, color, chase appeal, and premium presentation as core parts of what made the brand iconic. And that matters because refractors did more than make cards shinier. They changed how collectors related to variation, scarcity, and desire. A paper card can have rarity, but Chrome made rarity glow. It made scarcity visual. It made parallel structure easier to understand emotionally because the card itself announced that something more special was happening. That was a major development in modern collecting. Chrome helped teach collectors to look for hierarchy not just in names and grades, but in finish, color, reflectivity, and layer. It helped create a world where one version of the same essential card could feel ordinary and another could feel important and another could feel unreachable. That is a big part of why Chrome never felt like a side product. It became a language of aspiration. And once a brand becomes a language, it stops being just a product line. This, to me, is where history gets more interesting, because the most important thing about Topps Chrome Football is not simply that it existed, or that it debuted in 1996, or that it had refractors, or that it looked good in a case. The most important thing is that it helped define a visual language that the hobby still speaks. When people think about modern premium cards, they are often thinking in terms chromed help normalize, reflective finish, strong photography, higher perceived surface quality, colorful parallel ladders, sharper presentation, and the sense that the card is not merely documenting the player, but elevating him. Chrome helped make premium feel slick. It helped make rookie card chasing feel layered. It helped make shine feel legitimate rather than gimmicky. And that last point matters, because in sports cards, not every visual innovation ages well. Some feel like a period piece, some feel over-designed, some feel locked into a specific era's taste. Chrome, by contrast, had staying power. That is why so many collectors, even when they argue over specific years or players, still understand the brand intuitively. They understand what a Chrome card is supposed to mean. That kind of clarity is hard to earn, and brands that earn it usually matter for longer than people expect. In football, Chrome mattered for an even deeper reason. Football cards have always lived in a slightly different emotional economy than baseball cards. The great football cards often carry a stronger collision between mythology, violence, speed, era, and identity. Football collecting can feel more compressed, more intense, more tied to peak moments and iconic names. Because of that, presentation matters a lot. When Chrome framed football stars, legends, and rookies inside a sleeker, more premium format, it made modern football collecting feel more formalized. It made the category feel more polished without draining it of energy. That is a hard balance to strike. A football card still has to feel like football. It cannot become too sterile. It cannot become so redefined that it loses force. Chrome generally avoided that trap. It kept enough sharpness and edge to feel right for the sport, while still projecting premium status. That is part of why the brand has real memory inside the football hobby. It is not just shiny, it was convincing. Collectors believed in it. And when collectors believe in the visual authority of a brand, that belief compounds over time. Then came the long absence. That absence matters almost as much as the original rise. Because when a brand disappears from licensed NFL cards, two things can happen. One, it can fade. Or two, it can become more mythic. Topps' own current pages frame 2025 Topps Chrome Football as the return of a licensed NFL Chrome for the first time in more than a decade. And our official Topps language also points to 2015 as the last licensed Top football release before its return. In football, Chrome did not vanish from memory. It became one of those names that collectors kept carrying with them. That matters because absence can concentrate meaning. When something continues uninterrupted forever, collectors can start taking it for granted. But when a major brand leaves the licensed space, it starts to live differently in the imagination. It becomes tied to a lost era. It becomes a symbol of what used to feel normal. It becomes part of the hobby's memory structure. And over time, that memory becomes powerful. An entire generation of collectors grew up without licensed Topps Chrome Football as a living. current NFL product. They could know the name, they could know the reputation, they could know the iconic cards, but they could not experience the brand as an active part of the licensed football market. That is a big reason the return lands with more force now. That is not just a product coming back, this is a familiar hobby language re-entering the conversation. And this is where the story becomes especially relevant in 2026, because the modern hobby is already structured around many of the instincts Chrome helped push forward. Premium surfaces, serial number, color, chase mechanics, refractor logic, visual layering, and the belief that design can shape market desire. In other words, Chrome is returning to a world that in many ways already thinks like Chrome. That is what makes this comeback interesting. The official Topps store language leans into exactly that kind of significance. Topps describes 2025 Topps Chrome football as the point where the NFL is back with Topps, and positions the product as more than a comeback, with rookie autographs, colorful refractors, inserts, and new one-of-one chase concepts built into the launch. So this is not merely nostalgia. It is not just older collectors celebrating a familiar logo. It is the return of a brand that already helped shape the hobby's current visual and emotional logic. That is different, and it is why the release should be taken seriously, even if the market will ultimately decide which singles hold, which rookies matter, and which subsets become important. The point is bigger than any one checklist. The point is that Topps Chrome football already has historical legitimacy, and when a brand comes back with historical legitimacy, it enters the market with more gravity than a brand trying to invent relevance from scratch. So what does Topps Chrome football represent now? To me, it represents a bridge. It bridges paper era collecting and premium era collecting. It bridges nostalgia and modernity. It bridges flagship familiarity with aspirational presentation. And maybe most importantly, it bridges hobby memory and current market energy. That is not a small thing. A lot of products are built to generate heat. Far fewer are built on real historical memory. Chrome has both. It has the ability to create present tense excitement because it already means something before the pack is even opened. That is why the brand still matters. Not because every Chrome card is automatically important, not because every release year is equal, not because shiny always wins, but because Topps Chrome football earned a place in the hobby structure and helped define what modern football card prestige could look like. And now, with licensed NFL Chrome back in the market, collectors are being asked to revisit a brand that already shaped the visual and emotional rules many of them still live by. That is real history, and it is real value. So when we talk about Topps Chrome football, we should not talk about it like it's just another release on the calendar. We should talk about it as a brand that helped define modern football collecting, a brand that made premium feel distinct, a brand that turned surface into status, a brand that survived absence, and a brand whose return matters because it already earned its place long before this new release arrived. If you care about football cards beyond hype cycles, beyond box openings, beyond whatever is loudest this week, that is what Pigskin Portfolio is here to cover. The history, the grails, and what actually matters. Subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.